Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Community Safety Wellness Task Force live from Durham, North Carolina. If you are joining us, we are so happy to have you. Those who are viewing this at a delayed time, thank you as well. We do not take for granted those who seek to look at and listen to these meetings. We know that it's a task for you, but we know that if you're doing that, you're taking this matter very seriously as we are. And we always appreciate your feedback as well. We will get this meeting started. We'll call this meeting to order. I do want to just quickly run over some of the agenda. So I will share my screen at this time for the sake of those who are viewing. I don't know if that's big enough. Let's see. But we're gonna welcome our newest member. We're gonna do some announcements as well. We're gonna have an update on our prescriptions for repair pilot program recently passed by our city council. We're going to talk about the recent Board of Education resolution on secure storage, which is a resolution for them talking to the community, which is why it's here on our agenda. We have our first reading of a recommendation from our Violence and De-escalation Roundtable, followed by a general discussion on shaping the final budget, another general discussion about crafting a communication plan towards the end of our work, and then we'll close. And so that's our roadmap for today. I will start now by just asking our newest member, Alejandra Gomez, to introduce herself to her fellow task force members. Welcome so much. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to officially be here. My name is Alejandra Gomez. I teach 7th grade English language arts and social studies at Brogdon Middle School. Yes, it's a new combination we're doing this year. I'm teaching it as a combined class of humanities, and I get to write the curriculum, which is very exciting. I graduated from Duke in 2021, so just last year. It's my second year teaching and my second year at Brogdon Middle School. I'm the advisor of a new program that we're piloting for the district called Leal, and it's an empowerment group for Latina students, and I'm really excited about that this year as well. I think that's everything. I like to go on walks in my free time when I can find free time, and sort of enjoy Durham. I'm not originally from here, but I love it here. Thank you.
Thank you again for being with us and for letting us know a little bit about you. Just know that we're going to take some of your free time, but you knew that was coming. And it's every minute is going to be amazing because you are part of an amazing team. I'm so proud and to be just in the room with these wonderful residents and experts and persons of great character, great passion for what we're doing. Before I turn over to our co-chair, Marsha, I do want to ask a little housekeeping. If there's someone who on the task force who will please, if you don't mind, kind of watch the chat for me since I'm multitasking here. Who do we have that would volunteer to just keep an eye on the chat and kind of let us know when something, thank you, Dwayne. Let us know if there's something that we need to catch before we move on. Okay, by way of announcements, we also have another quarterly report coming by the end of this month. So by the 28th, by the end of this month for this past quarter. And we're going to keep it very short, simple, and to the point. And that we do have a December target for the final recommendations for all the roundtables except for our brand new youth roundtable. So again, all roundtables, a very brief quarterly report. There wasn't a lot that went on this past quarter. And just kind of think about our overall goal of trying to get most of these roundtable work done by December. Marsha, turn it over to you.
I'm muted. Hi. I see a new person, Cecilia.
Hi, folks.
Hi. Would you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Cecilia Polanco. My pronouns are she, they, or la. I wear a couple hats with Pupusas for Education, doing some work with the Durham Public Schools Foundation, and excited to be here with y'all today. I've been sitting all day, so I'm on a little walk outside trying to get some sunlight. But yeah, I'm here. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Welcome. Well, our the value I would like to offer to our task force tonight is reparations, our capacity to repair. Everybody agree that that can be a value that can hold us together tonight? Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's just move on to update on the prescriptions for repair pilot. And Muffin and I are going to present this part. We just have really good news, and with great gratitude for the City Council and for Duke Institute for Health Innovations. It is fully funded. Thank you, Jillian. and Javier is not with us tonight. She's at a conference out of town. So we're just especially glad to have you. And also Commissioner Burns, so glad you're with us. So good to have you. So we are up and running. I hope y'all saw the link in your email, and I'll just hand it over to Muffin if you want to take it from here. Tell us what's up.
Hello, everyone. So currently Duke is accepting applications for the program coordinator, and Xavier sent it to us in an email yesterday. What we would like to do is, of course, is make sure that we are reaching out to people in our networks to make sure that we get the most, qualified person, but we also want a person that is going to understand exactly what it is that we're looking for. So if it's someone that is directly impacted by gun violence, or have a loved one that was directly impacted, encourage them to apply. Applications will be received until the end of business day on Friday, September 23rd. So that's not a very long time, because today is the 14th. So basically 9 days from today is when the application will close. So please share the job opportunity far and wide, and post it if necessary on your social medias or on your listservs.
Thank you. And I have another update. One of the good things that's happened is that we are now collaborating with the NCCU School of Social Work. Professor Solomon has agreed to be an advisor on the pilot. We have a volunteer advisory circle, and he will be with us for that, and be also our conduit to just a wonderful group of professors and graduate students over at NCCU. So there will be I know we have one graduate student at Duke, but hopefully I think we're going to have a bunch at NCCU. So that's really, really exciting. So just want to let y'all know that the advisory group will be the Assistant Director of Social Work at Duke Hospital, the Director Uzuri Holder, who has been attending our VIDE Roundtable, will serve as an advisor. She is with the Duke Hospital Gun Violence Intervention Program, which is really exciting, as well as Ryan and Dwayne and Muffin and myself. So that'll be the advisory. And Muffin, take it. Want to talk about what's next?
Okay, before I do that, there's a question in the chat from Manju. It says, is it possible for us to ask that Duke Careers add a link to the prescription for repair program description, or include more description for applicants looking forward to this position being filled?
Yes, I will speak to Dr. Rice and make sure that, so that the actual proposal is linked to that. Thank you. Thank you. That's really helpful. And the meeting I was in today, that was one of the questions. I had to send that out for that very reason. So thank you, Manju.
Once the coordinator position has been filled and fully oriented to the project, we'll be recruiting for 20 facilitators from within our communities. Facilitators will be expected to conduct listening sessions for up to 8 hours. Participants with 4 participants over the course of 6 months. Facilitators will receive training in confidential, non-judgmental listening, the use of audio equipment, program goals, identifying and responding to trauma and care navigations. Training and facilitation is compensated at $25 an hour. That's 17 hours of training and 32 hours of listening sessions. So that's a total of 49 hours at $25 an hour. And that's a little over $1,200. And so, please share this opportunity to become an effective listener far and wide. And we definitely want people that are directly impacted and are in our communities to be these facilitators, to be able to get compensated for the work that they'll be doing with us. Also, please begin thinking of people who have survived being shot and would appreciate the opportunity to share their lived experience and be able to tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And when we plan those listening sessions with survivors, it'll start January 1st. All participants will be compensated for $25 an hour, and they will receive the care identified to make things right if possible. We have a total of 8 hours at $25 an hour, so that's $200. And again, we want to make sure that people have what they need. We don't want people to just be on display for us. We really do want to know what it is that they would like to see happen, what will make them feel whole after surviving being a gunshot victim. We want to give them the care, the love, and the attention that they need and that they require.
Thanks, Muffin. Any questions, any comments? Mike.
2 questions. One, I'm assuming that none of us task force members obviously could be one of these trained listeners, since it's a compensated position and it's a funded proposal. The second question, or not a question, but a hope, is that since this is getting underway, this is the first of our task force proposal approved. I'm personally am looking forward to being able to hear as we're winding up our work in the spring, we'll be able to get reports on how prescriptions for repair has been working and the good results that it's produced, and that can perhaps help inform when we are done with our work and we hand it off to the city and the county with our other proposals. We can show, look what we were able to do and the promise that this program has for the other recommendations we may put forward that follow a similar pattern.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the people's pilot, and so we will definitely be reporting to the Durham community, the city council, and anybody who's interested. This is really, really important. So absolutely.
So yeah, Mike, we did talk about task force members possibly holding the positions of facilitators. And if they have the lived experience and they want to be able to do it, they should be able to, because they're not being there as a task force member. They're being there as a community member who wants to go through the training and wants to be able to help people navigate this system. That's what we discussed. Now, the advisory board, no, we won't be compensated, but facilitators can be task force members.
And we just, to be absolutely clear, and we'll check actually with the city attorney and make sure that that's right. Because I think that's a great question, but it makes sense to me. Thanks. Any other questions? All right. Okay. Well, I'll send it back to you, Xavier.
Thank you very much. And we want to welcome board member. Did she make it? I thought I saw board member Lewis come on to speak on the resolution of secure storage.
Yeah, I saw her.
Okay, she's rejoining again. She's reconnecting. Good evening, board member Lewis. Just in time, we were at the part of the agenda where I just wanted to make sure we had some awareness about the resolution that the Board of Education passed regarding safe storage. Because the version that's on the website is still in its draft form, I don't want to touch it because I don't know if anything has changed on it or not. So if you feel like you're in a good spot to just kind of give us an overview, I will turn the floor over to you. If you want to table it for another time, that's fine as well.
Yeah, I am very brief overview. Sorry, I'm jumping from Zooms and not fully here, still getting here. But what is on draft form is what is going to be final, what's online. This resolution was presented to us from Dr. Karen Handelman, who was a part of the Race Equity Task Force. And she's also worked very directly with, I want to say Moms Rising, but I think there's another organization that she used to help craft the language around safety, security, securing firearms, bringing public awareness to that. So DPS did pass a resolution. We read the resolution passed, and we just also talked about what things we can do in our school communities to help elevate the message about securing firearms, about purchasing locks for firearms, also turning in firearms to the sheriff's office and things of that nature. So we definitely want to elevate that message, and thank you for the opportunity to share with the Safety and Wellness Task Force. It is in draft form. I believe it's only in draft form because it's needing our signatures, but we did not change anything about it after it was read and passed.
Thank you. Absolutely. It was definitely passed, but I didn't want to touch it because I didn't know if before you signed it, anything had changed. So again, we're going to thank the board for taking that step and just speaking to the community about what we can do as residents to keep our youth safe. And just wanted to bring that up also for the sake of the youth roundtable that will be forming soon, or that is formed and will be meeting soon, just in case. So you have some idea of what's happening with the Board of Education. Board Member Lewis, we haven't had a lot of recommendations coming your way yet, but you know what? It's about to happen. Toward the end of this, with this new roundtable, you're going to see the SRO roundtable finishing their work, and then the youth roundtable working probably through February, possibly, before they come with any recommendations. So just know that that we're coming your way as well with some ideas and recommendations and conversation. So thank you again for giving us that overview. Did anyone have any questions?
No, I just want to thank you too. This is a great to have a partner with the school board.
Thank you. So we'll turn this over to the members of our Violence and De-escalation Roundtable. Dr. Boone, Sam, any others that may be here?
Good evening, everyone. I think Dr. Boone, you're sharing your screen, right?
Okay. Did you want to say something about this before we begin, Marsha or Samuel?
No, go right ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
Let me, I'm sorry, forgive me. I neglected to say, before you get rolling, because I know you can roll, I neglected to say that this, of course, is a first reading. And we instituted a first and second reading protocol to take some of the heat off of presenting something and voting on it right away. This gives us all time to think through, to ask questions, and gives the roundtable more, some additional input before the task force votes on it in potentially the next meeting. So just wanted to make sure that was clear to everyone who's listening, that put on your listening ears and just take it in and feel free to ask the questions at the end. Thank you. Forgive that intrusion.
No problem. Thank you so much. So the title of this proposal is Building Resilient Communities. And you see that it's submitted by myself, Crystal Taylor, Marsha, Samuel, Rose, Nancy Rosales, Natalia Rosales, Florine Moore, and Nia Wilson. And it's a proposal that benefits, we hope, the city and county. And so in terms of what agencies and organizations are involved, members of districts 1 and 4, which are the communities of most color in Durham, and the residents' councils in public housing in all of the public housing residences in Durham. Get Happy Director Crystal Taylor And she's also affiliated with Black August in the Park and Beats and Bars. Myself, Durham organizations with community health workers that are connected to families in the above communities. Jess Busquet, who is the director of the Durham County ACEs and Resilience Task Force, and Spirit House. And so organizations have been contacted and their buy-in has been received. And so these are the residence councils represented by Mr. Anthony Scott and Marcus, who his name has been escaping me this whole day for some reason. Get Happy Director, Crystal, the organizations with community health workers that we've reached out to as a part of this process, which can be expanded. Try, Peach, La Samia, Project Access, Slice 325, and Jess, Dr. John Evans, who is the author of Change Your Words, Change Your Words, Change Your World, that should be, that would be offered in kind, and Eve Puffer, Coping Together, and that would be in kind as well. So the estimated cost for the production is $300,000, and the costs include casting, production, crew, and work. And Crystal and NCCU have done these in several times over the past few years with subject matter concerning COVID, opioid overdose, HIV. And so this is something that has been researched, and she's very well known and equipped along with Dr. Livingston in terms of the results pertaining to this process of ethnodramas. And also included is the cost of rehearsals, readback with cast weeks prior to shooting. So again, the total funding for the ethnodrama piece is $300,000. For the trauma-informed life, which will be initiatives following the performances, Try Trainers will provide Change Your Words, Change Your World, and Coping Together. John Evans, as I've mentioned before, Dr. Eve Puffer, they have been trained as facilitators of both of these initiatives, and what they are is explained further down in the document. And so Try is requesting $75,000 to cover the cost of communities who will be a part of the training process through Train the Trainer, and those things that are part of the ethnodrama production. But Try is also offering $100,000 in kind because we have some grants that really fit nicely into this scenario. So again, nonprofits that have community health workers will be paid to engage the community as they have been engaged with COVID-19. And then also individuals who live in these areas, socially vulnerable areas, including residents, council members, will be compensated for the training that they receive and for doing outreach. We involve youth, young adults as peer-to-peer resilience advocates. So it's not only the adults that are in our communities, but there are youth who are already involved in doing this work, such as Natalia Rosales, along with her group of peers. And then young adults, there are several young adults that are involved in work on trauma and engaging trauma and doing training as well. So we address trauma and focus on resilience, address substance use, link residents to existing support services, including arts, music, and play. And those agencies are identified through Nccu 360, which is a comprehensive list of organizations and what they do and how to reach out to them. That is on a platform that's called Unite Us. Engage transportation services for anyone that needs transportation. Include the faith community as centers of education, that's Florine Moore, and learning inside their walls and then outside through faith action teams. Again, compensated through funding jointly with what we're asking for from the city and county, and then the in-kind donations, if you will, from TRI. The concerns that were addressed during or talked about during this process, institutions must work through and with the community to co-create and co-lead with equal power. Stop starting something new without participating with others. Believe your local Durham experienced experts. Review and use local data already collected, no new surveys, please. So this is a lot of information that has to do with the core programs that we're talking about in a family reunion type setting. The ethnodrama films depict the journey of families that are struggling with adverse childhood experiences, historically, generationally, and then individuals within communities that have experienced trauma, as we've talked about with the previous program, and then activities, but this has more to do with violence intervention, interpersonal violence, whatever the violence is, in its many, many forms, would be depicted in several types of films that will be produced by Crystal and her team. And then the community activities will take place within the community. So we're not asking people to travel someplace in order to get to these films. The films will come to them. And the activities are, wide ranging and envisioned as being a family reunion type of setting with community members from District 1-4 residents, councils that we've spoken to, some that have given us information about what they want to do, how they want it to look, including information from youth and young adults and seniors. TRI initiatives include connections to local services that I've just mentioned. And so this is a description of the ethnodramas, what they've looked like previously. The research is linked further in this document. And as Crystal mentions in this portion of the proposal, she's produced ethnodramas in the past around HIV, AIDS, and opioids, and also those things that I spoke of earlier. So Get Happy, which is her organization, writes and produces films using intensive community consultation and focus groups, developing storylines that depict the real issues affecting community members' lives. And what I want to point out about these ethnodramas is that they are on the order of a Tyler Perry type of film, true to life, showing all aspects of what it looks like for members of families. And some of this information is not only interesting and educational, but some of the pieces are humorous as well. So it's real people, real families, real situations, and then how to cope with those real situations, seen in film and then assisted in life. So relate to true to life stories that help them envision how to begin interrupting cycles of violence and healing. By screening these films at the community events take place within the community, then other partners will be able to connect community members in real time to local service providers. And we see these kinds of things happening in community fairs and sort of some of the things that we saw during COVID, where at least with Try and Act Plus and those kinds of organizations had food and what are your other needs? So attempting also to address the social determinants of health in a wraparound system. And it seems like a lot, and it is a lot, but we've made a lot of progress in working in underserved communities through COVID. And it's almost like the foundation of community engagement are still there because we still interact with the community in terms of coping together and change your words, change your world, and providing assistance to individuals in the community. So the proposal aims to help residents living in vulnerable communities build the resilience needed to prevent and lessen the impact of ACEs and trauma. It targets the roots of violence and health disparities in Durham. And so these are the objectives: increase the knowledge of community members about trauma, violence, substance use, and other challenges. And these are the dates projected. And then community, family, and youth goals and objectives: increase the capacity of community members to respond to the impact of trauma. And then community health workers will have trained 50 youth and adults on Change Your Words, Change Your World, addressing trauma outcomes, including substance use. And community health workers, and when I say community health workers, I'm talking about the individuals that are working through the nonprofits that I listed, and there may be more, but these are the ones that I'm mostly connected with, open to other community health worker, community-based organizations, and also the ambassadors from the neighborhoods will be a part of this training families as well. Some of the community health workers have been trained as trainers also, and so we have that capacity as well. Decrease youth substance use, an indicator of criminal activity in the community by implementing evidence-based programs within the school district to address behaviors that may lead to the initiation of use and violence, of course. So we have relationships with middle school, high school, elementary schools in order to engage students in elementary school, which we call Whole Hearts, Broken Hearts, which we have done these kinds of sessions before COVID, and then during COVID virtually. And so these numbers seem maybe a little bit large. I don't know what it appears to be to you, but so Why Animals Don't Smoke is one of the interventions, and as well as Broken Hearts, Whole Hearts for elementary school. And then in middle school and high school, it's Living in Future Tense, which is a peer-to-peer resilience model where students or young people in the community even are able to have talking points and free of charge. And then they're able to produce their own versions of what the science says. We look through that from the CDC. We look through that and make sure that everything is accurate. And then in middle school and high school, they draw pictures, they write music, They do sculptures and even dance in order to show their resilience, and those are shared with the community. And so this program aims also to address the social determinants of health disparities for Durham residents, including the higher socially vulnerable neighborhoods experiencing violence and ACEs. And I know that I've done presentations on ACEs and resilience with this group before, so that's not why I'm going into what is trauma, what is ACEs, what are ACEs. I will say that the ACEs that we talk about are on the individual level, the interpersonal level, the neighborhood level, and then the societal level in terms of what's called the 7 strategies for community change. And so we've connected and consulted with Dr. Jonathan Livingston, NCCU, John Evans, Duke, Eve Puffer from Africa to Duke, Sheila Stevens, SAMHSA Project Director, Mebane Boyd, North Carolina ACEs Advisory Board, and the National Advisory Society of Prevention. There are links that you're able to look at for the plays and how they look and how they feel, and some of the data that's been collected around this process, and also for Together for Resilient Youth. You're able to look at that as well. And so the other experience is working with the Duke School of Nursing that has written a manuscript that's pending publication, where we've looked at data around trauma experiences and their manifestation. These are the number of individuals that were contacted during that study. I saw Jesse has his hand up. So Jesse, please go ahead with your question.
It's just, I'll turn my screen back on. Sometimes when we have presentations, I like to be in it and make sure I'm following along. But I was just going to chime in briefly because the big world is small. I know Crystal Taylor personally, and she's mentioned this to me. And I know that once you mentioned Duke School of Nursing, I'm pretty sure they have current episodes of ethnodrama work that she's been able to do that are focused on HIV.
Yeah.
So that's already there's already some there's a point of reference if folks are curious and really want to kind of see what's out there in terms of what this can look like. I just wanted to mention that as an addition and an aside, but not to steal your thunder.
Oh, no thunder. Thank you. No, that's great. And actually here in this section, the dramatic plays as a tool, these are, some of them are linked to her previous work in this area. So thank you for bringing that up again, but yes. And the only reason that I bring this up, and we're still working with CTSI today, is because there's some data around here that you're able to look at. And, I think we pretty much understand that child abuse and living in poverty and poor socioeconomic conditions and trauma are part of intimate partner violence, drug use, bullying, and shootings. All of that can be recognized as being a part of what this hopes to assist with. This is information on coping strategies and coping together, which are things that we use, and they're not very costly. They're things that people can do individually in order to strengthen self-care. And then if someone is having more difficulty than we can address, we have such a shortage of physicians and folks who can help in this area, but we have secured a couple that have said that when needed, that they would assist without charge in order to assist this process. So the community engagement activities to present, there's a lot, and some of the data is 2018, 2019, but the 6,000 people that were reached are still around in terms of that. Broken and Healed Hearts, which is the elementary school model. And when it has numbers like 600 with that and 800 for that, the reason is because these programs happened in auditoriums in schools and for every grade in elementary school. So that's why the numbers look high and are high, because of the concentrated kind of processes that we've been able to provide to the community. And then these are just the list of where community health workers have gone, which is all of the public housing residences. And also there have been presentations that I've done and others have done to the whole class of medical students, first-year medical students at Duke. The reason that that becomes important is because after that presentation, there is a group of Black first-year medical students that want to participate in this process. So these are some of the individuals that are assisting or want to assist in this proposal. This information is about adverse childhood experiences. And as we know, during COVID, Black people were further disadvantaged because of isolation and the trauma that has already been experienced by our community. You top that with adverse childhood experiences, COVID. And this is just to inform that more suicides include Black male young people than any other ethnicity. So that's, of course, that has to do with trauma as well. So to truly buffer the effects of ACEs on violence, we must and hope to provide resiliency at the individual, family, interpersonal, community levels in ways that are evidence-informed or evidence-based, culturally informed, inclusive, and accessible despite systemic inequities. These are just a list of the public housing areas and data around them. I know it's a lot to look at, and it will take a long time for me to go through this personally and during this time, but it's here for your review as well. And that's just a repeat of. So again, the request is in kind, $100,000 from TRI, and the request to the city is for administrative assistance, for payment for the community health workers in the individual areas, and the stipend, they're not stipends, they're payments for the community members that will be trained. And so that's what we're talking about. Oh, and some of the questions that are asked for this specific process outside of the production, which comes with its own questions and answers that are collected in a format that will identify how much help people need who are attending these sessions. So including social determinants of health. And then for ACEs, very simply, because we want to have an important survey, but we want it to be something that is easily collected and easily answered. So to what degree did you experience increased knowledge about ACEs? To what degree did you find a way to practice self-care? To what degree did you celebrate your personal strength? You know, what's right with you instead of what's wrong with you? To what degree did you connect with your community in order to impact others through your knowledge? And so here's some data that we've collected so far about Change Your Words, Change Your World, which is, you know, now one of the most important and impactful initiatives that TRI has. We have 3 that we're really based on, that we've been funded for. So to what degree did you express your deepest thoughts and feelings? 4.5, 5, and that kind of thing. And then in coping together, and I'm sorry, for the current outcomes, 83 residents participated in 2021, 2022, but those are residents. And there were some others that were involved also. Coping Together, 108 families with a 95% success rate that's been documented and affirmed by our project managers. And oversight, we have letters of commitment from residents, health department, Duke Community Engagement, and Durham Joints Together in terms of substance use. And so here are some other things to look at in terms of the ethno dramas and plays and current initiatives and activities. This is about VIDE. This is really not so much about this process. So these are just some other things that are going on. So I think I'll stop there, and forgive me if I've taken too much time or didn't leave enough time for your questions and comments. Understanding this is a first read.
We do have time for questions. What questions do we have? Mike, I see your hand.
Well, and I noticed that in the chat, Commissioner Burns said she had a few questions, and I really kind of wanted to defer actually with my initial set of questions to our 3 governing body representatives who will be hearing. And, you know, since this is a request to city county, I'm presuming that the school board might perhaps be part of the ask for part of the funding of this, since it involves kids so much. One, and clarity from you and Marcia, which is useful to us for other proposals, that this is a proposal asking for funding for a project when we were getting and Brett, this is something, Xavier, I think you plan to talk with us on another agenda item about how we should consider, you know, spending the remaining task force budget, if that can really be for program funding or it should be for task force expenses like research, listening sessions, et cetera. So if this proposal would meet a good reception, since it's asking to fund a program as opposed to a task force expense. And a second more kind of general question of, I guess, and the 3 representatives may not be able to, you know, candidly answer this, but in terms of, you know, kind of strategy of, if this is the first proposal coming from VIBE, the first proposal coming from the task force related to violence, interruption and de-escalation, this is not as direct and focused and pragmatic, perhaps, a approach to that. So I want to get their impression on, you know, how that would be received. Like, you know, of all the things to do about violence and dealing with gun violence and gangs, this seems a less direct approach, and would other proposals that VIDE might have that are more direct get, you know, smooth the path, as it were, for this coming later. And then the third question is about, since TRI is a recipient of funding of this, and the budget is a bit hard to suss out, but I guess, of that 75,000 to then turn around and use that to pay for these counselors. There was an original line in the first version of the proposal that also implied some direct funding to the administrators of tribe, which is not in this version of the proposal. But does that raise any questions of, and the section of this proposal of the template that deals with conflict of interest and any potential conflict of interest or benefit isn't included in this proposal? So does that raise any questions for these representatives that we could anticipate and deal with on the front end, so we don't get the kind of pushback that you all encountered with the prescriptions for repair proposal when you presented it?
And let me just say that this is more of a prevention intervention. So, that's the other question too. Are we prevention also? So.
Sure, it was more a question of timing and it's a really question for them to give us a sense, if they're willing, of how they think this would be received, as opposed to any other proposals that VIDE might have that might be more focused on intervention and de-escalation, and then a prevention focused one could come later once they become receptive to that kind of idea. But I'll let them chime in if they will.
I didn't get a chance to read the proposal before the meeting, so I just kind of skimmed it as we're talking right now. Want to appreciate Wanda for bringing this to us and all the folks who have worked on this. I think that, if I understand what Mike is getting at, I think I would share that concern that there's not really a lot to, I don't know what the outcomes really are going to be. I don't know how to measure those outcomes. So I don't know. I feel like I don't 100% understand what the goal is of this project and how we would then measure whether we achieved that goal. So that's the main thing that I think would be a barrier or a complication for city funding, is that governments really want measurable outcomes for the use of public money, and I don't really see that here yet.
Yeah, the goals and objectives and measures were included in the document. I'll make sure they're more clear, but there are expectations and goals and outcomes, goals and objectives within the body of the document. So.
Thank you, Wanda. I saw at the, I did read the part about, surveying people about their knowledge of ACEs and how they felt the experience impacted them. I don't know that is, I don't think that's entirely what I'm looking for, but I can follow up with you later or talk to other folks later as well.
Yeah. I understand that was one piece, but the actual goals, goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4, and under those each objectives. So yeah. As I said, I'll make sure to make it clearer and not include those specific questions, because that could throw someone off. Jennifer?
This is impressive, and I want to echo the same sort of, I've lost my English today, how impressed I am, as I was with the previous prescriptions for repair proposal, of how much financial support you have gotten out of other organizations. And I just want to acknowledge the amount of relational and interpersonal work that it takes to do that. I wanted to mention briefly, since you connected with Chris Jones, the CDC is pretty soon, I would say in the next couple of months, going to release a new guide for overdose data to action grantees, which North Carolina is, on school-based interventions for substance use prevention. And I say that only because the document was written for two populations. One is your average public health professional who doesn't have any background in childhood development or things like that, and vice versa. And for people like you who are in their sweet spot and in their area of expertise, but might occasionally benefit from a second voice echoing the things that you're already saying about being developmentally appropriate. So I just wanted to put that on your radar. And Chris might be it's coming out of the injury center, so Chris might be in a position to give you a preliminary copy. You can always ask, he's really nice. But the question that I had about the program is, do you forgive me if I'm asking you to repeat yourself, do you perceive any components of this program as sort of long-term sustainable, or is there like a wave of things that are planned with this one ethnodrama and the dissemination, and then the question of what comes next is addressed later? Yeah, I think I was like, what's past the immediate horizon of this, the bulk of the development that's in the proposal?
Thank you for your question. So the ethnodrama is not only the ethnodrama is, I don't want to call it a hook, but I don't have a better description for it, where the community gets involved, excited, hears and understands. And then after that point, then that's when the community is invited to participate in. Crystal is contacting me. She should text. Should be, Crystal, put it in the text. I mean, in the chat box. Okay. And so then after that, then that healing piece that involves the community and residents, where they receive training in order to carry out these different aspects of coping and being resiliency trained. That's where that comes in. So that is a model that continues to expand capacity and involves the community in a way that they are the local experts who can even address other issues as they come along. So, and so no, it's not a one-shot deal. And so in terms of funding, you know, we've received, TRI has received funding, other organizations have received funding in order to address these things. And all grant funding is limited in terms of 5 years, but then what do we accomplish in 5 years using this process by training individuals in the community to be self-promoters and self-healers. So that's really where we see the benefit and expanse of some of these things. And actually Chris Jones has, you know, I think maybe it was because of the presentation that I did with him at CDC, but on the 28th, they are doing a webinar to focus on this topic with TRI. And I think 5 or 6 members of CDC are going to be there. I keep hearing they want more and more. So anyway, yes, you know, I hope I answered your question. I kind of went off.
No, that sounds great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And Jesse, and I see something in the chat, but Jesse, sorry.
No, I was just going to echo some similar feedback I think that Jennifer was alluding to in terms of the relational investment, and in some ways speak to Jillian's question or comment. I know Commissioner Burns, I think, mentioned similarly, like wanting to follow up with you to be able to understand the impact. And it just feels important to name that, like, this work has been going on before our task force and will continue after our task force. There are no quick fixes in this work, and like, who isn't on a healing journey, right?
Exactly.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Right, you know, and the reality is, right, that like there's a way in which we never fully arrive at that healing destination, and sometimes it's about that journey. And what I'm seeing here is that this creates a dynamic set of entry points for people to connect and move forward in their journey. And move forward with others in that collective journey, right? And that's really hard to quantify and qualify. And we have to be intentional in how we strategically report and record that impact. And so it may not be sort of the typical data that folks are used to seeing that makes them feel comfortable giving more funds. But hopefully, as people are able to actually participate and experience what's happening, there's a way in which you may not always be able to point to the change, but you will feel that change. And I know I've had that experience personally in some settings where these kinds of tools are used, and they can be very, very transformative. And you get to, you hear the quotes that people offer when they say, oh, this was so meaningful. And I think that's one kind of point of data that hopefully you all will be able to capture if and when something like this is funded. So I just wanted to lift that up, that like there's a way in which, if I'm understanding this recommendation, there are ways in which it will be challenging and in some ways impossible to fully quantify or qualify that impact. And so I think, need to be intentional about how we expect to capture and record that impact in a way that feels authentic, but also holds open the reality that like there's a way in which like you're not supposed to be able to quantify it. Like that's not the point. And that's not to say that it isn't important to do that, but there's just a way in which like that end isn't the point, right? That like there's a way in which there's no quick fix, and that healing and resilience and things like that will be an ongoing journey. And so I just wanted to mention that and lift that up in this moment. That felt important to say.
Thank you so much. And we have information from our project directors at SAMHSA and CDC that have reviewed, you know, the processes that we use, and we've received further funding and accolades for that. But thank you so much, Jesse, I appreciate that. And then I see Xavier and Samuel, and I think Crystal is here. Hey, Crystal. So.
Hi. I'll answer any questions if anybody wants to ask, but otherwise I'll stay on mute until otherwise addressed.
Well, I think Samuel had a question or a comment.
Oh, I more so had a comment. First of all, I was going to uplift what Crystal said in the regular chat, but Dr. Campbell put that in the chat, and also Crystal's here now. But in addition, another thing I thought of in terms of like more structural things, in terms of long-term things, after I guess the initial process of viewing the videos, is also the resources that are being connected to community members in the process. They're going to be able to have access to different resources and stuff like that. And I don't know the specific term to use here because we're all working together, but in a sense, it puts a pressure on those different resources to be accountable for the community and to provide what they're supposed to provide. Because there's so many, you know, times in the past where people have said they're going to do X, Y, and Z and haven't actually delivered. And it's left the community like here, like thinking like you were coming here to support us, you were coming here to say X, Y, and Z, and you never delivered on that. But this is an opportunity for us to revise that. This is an opportunity for us to reform that and to build that connection and build that trust, because that trust is important with the community. And so I just wanted to kind of uplift that as well. This is also for accountability as well on those resources that will be shared.
Right, thank you. And
Yeah, one thing I was going to do was just read what Crystal had done, but then she got promoted. So I'll defer to Crystal for any comments she wanted to make.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time in reviewing this proposal for the sake of what we need to do in our community. But like I was saying in the chat, and to answer some of the questions that people had concerning, you know, the longevity, sustainability, and the output of what this can do. You know, currently right now, I'm working with the Duke School of Nursing around HIV for Black and Brown women. And we created 4 episodes that are dynamic and incredible. And we're able to use those episodes to get hairstylists to watch them, to be able to entertain and talk about HIV, relationships, sexual health with their clients. And right now we've already talked to over 60 women to do that. And it's been an outpouring of, we've been very successful in reaching people in a different way. Pamphlets are not working anymore. PowerPoints are not working anymore. Coming to community groups and those things are not working anymore for our community. And entertainment and watching something that people can relate to is what's working. In the, the surveys and the statistics and the research shows that. And so being able to be a part of a movement, if you will, to support people in a way that they can relate to directly themselves. Everybody has a favorite TV show that they watch for a long period of time and something related to them in that TV show or in that movie. And so we've been able to connect with community in a way to write scripts that will be able to influence people to entertain the idea of reaching out to community advocates, nonprofits, organizations that will help them. Because TRI is one of these organizations that has a lot of these resources, but people don't know and they won't understand and they won't go get the information. We have to meet people where they are with telling their stories, making it relatable, and then saying, okay, here we are with these resources and tools for you to get the help that you need. And so that's why it's important to make sure that, we have advocates like TRI that can say after these episodes, after these community cookouts, after these watch parties, they can tap right in to individuals they're already trained to be able to support them besides having to, figure it out themselves, because that's what really happens. When you're watching a TV show about suicide or an episode is about suicide, they give you an 800 number to call. 9 times out of 10, you're still not going to call that number. Nobody's going to do that. And that's not happening. That's why we still have a problem with suicide right now and drug abuse and gun violence. Having people there on site to talk with individuals, to get feedback, to give them something that could be a QR code or, anything that lets them know we are here for you. All you got to do is tap into us and we can support you. That makes it even better. Having a landing page of resources where people can go back to and rewatch the episodes as many times as they want to, or share it with the individual that's actually suffering from the issue or the disparity is also very clutch, because then they'll be able to say, hey, watch this on your own accord. And here's the source right here for you to tap into. And it can all be anonymous, all be private, but this is working with a lot of people right now. I'm at the School of Business at Central right now. We're doing a TED Talk on opioids because we're getting ready to film on opioids in a couple of weeks. And so we've done it. We've done it with HPV. We've done it with cervical cancer. We've done it with COVID, on understanding what it is and what it's not and what you need to do. So all these things are really working. It's outside of the box thinking, and it's working in our community. And I just hope that people can be open-minded to the concept of connecting with people outside of the traditional ways that have not been working in the past. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we don't have a lot of time left. We really, Mike, do you have a quick question or comment?
I would just, before the second reading, looking at this as a city manager, county managers like to look at, school board administrative type person that's going to those three bodies with that hard look like Jillian referenced. I think more budget detail is important, like a breakdown of the $300,000 cost for the film, the additional resources, that $100,000 from TRI, $75,000 from the city or county, and where that will go, because the math there only shows $150,000 total. Putting back in, addressing the potential conflict of interest issue and resolving it, I think would be important. And I think there is a lot more assessment measures, to Jillian's point, embedded in the proposal that could be fleshed out. Sam mentioned being able to measure how many people were connected to follow-on services as a result of this. Wanda, you mentioned goal 2 and 3, the increased participation in these school-based programs. If you can say we can track that, not as an indirect measure of people young kids, especially going through these programs, experiencing it, and then participating in these follow-on school-based programs for resiliency. I think that's a potential measure of long-term effect of, even if it's just a one-time viewing of the film. But I think those things probably need to be there for a second reading for us to be confident enough to know that we'll get a better reception to this than we did with the PFR proposal the first time around.
If I may, I did want to just, before Mike even spoke, just mention that well, one thing we did learn in the recommendation that was recently proposed is that Marsha and I, dragging Dwayne along, will always have a lot of work to do with any recommendation that has funding involved and looking at the most realistic way to make those requests. So just know that what you see is a first reading, and that I do hope that we can have conversations with the other members of the that roundtable to look at what that really looks like and how we can move it forward. And so all of that things you just mentioned, Mike, will be addressed. I imagine that much of what we talk about is going to need braided funding. I do have a question about funding and some ideas in the back of my head. Does this include music? Okay, because that actually changes some of the possibilities for funding as well if there's a musical component to it. So before I start asking some people about some things, I want to make sure it did have music in it. And I know I'm not asking to participate in that, but I do have some friends who do help out and things like that. So I do want to look at all of our options. So all of those things, all those concerns will be addressed before we bring it back as a second reading. All right.
Sorry, Xavier. So
yeah,
maybe can I follow up with you and Marcia later about the conflict of interest piece?
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll take
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, I can take that to the city manager or city attorney, sorry, before our next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I'll be sending out an email to the members of the roundtable to try to get together with you. I know last week, the week I tried to reach out, Dr. Boone, you had a presentation somewhere, so I got an automatic reply because you were like, I'm zoned in. But I do want to talk more about some aspects of this as well. Thank you so much to everyone who had any part of this. I did want to make some adjustments to the agenda. The general discussion about the shaping the final report. Marsha, Dwayne, and I can find different ways, different strategies to get that information. I would prefer to use the time we have left to talk about a communication plan. And again, to set that up, what we're talking about and what we made a decision to do this summer in speaking with many of you one-on-one or in small groups was that we should possibly create a final report before December, before this ends in April. And that's why we're asking most roundtables to finish by December so that we can spend the spring of 2023 going back out into the community in a large way and communicating what we found, asking them what we're missing, and any way we can bringing more community voices into the final report before we finish in April. So again, if we finish most of our recommendations in December, we take that information in a draft report out into the community in a way, out into the media, and just kind of make sure they remember that we're here, that we're representing them as residents, and to get some input. And so we asked Manju to kind of put together a communications plan, so she wanted to have some time to speak to you about it. We've got about 15, 18 minutes left. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thanks so much for framing the purpose here. There's a link that is in the chat box to panelists to participate in the mural tool, and I'm going to share my screen. This is open-ended discussion up until 7:25, Xavier, is that right? Where we'll get to answer these questions and try and begin to think about what our outreach can look like. So I see folks moving around. If you've never done this before, you click through to the visitor link, you migrate over the sticky that you're going to be working with. And I would just put here what I understand the goal of our task force to be. And the reason we're grounding ourselves in our vision and goals is to make sure that our methods of outreach and who we're reaching out to are really connected to our purpose. So grab one of these goal stickies, write what you understand our goal to be, grab one of these group stickies next and name one group that you really hope we don't miss the opportunity to partner with to achieve our goals. That could be a organization in the city of Durham or the county that really is doing work with directly impacted people. It could look like a department with the city or county or through the schools that is really connecting with a broad swath of folks who you hope are in the conversation around these task force recommendations. You'll grab one of these action bubbles and you'll name how we intend to engage community members around these task force recommendations. I feel like this last conversation about the proposal that just got discussed really got our juices flowing, thinking about all of the expansive ways that we can connect with our neighbors. So let's name some of that there. And timeline, think about how much time do we have left and what feels realistic in terms of what benchmarks we could achieve around communication, and we'll try and sequence those. So if there's like a month or a couple months that you think we really need to knock a particular thing out, name that on one of these purple bubbles. And if there's a thing that you want to claim responsibility for making happen, go ahead and put your name on there. Folks have any questions?
Maj, you want us to do this within the confines of our remaining meeting or continue to do this from now until whenever?
We are going to do this right now together for a few minutes. And if you only fill out one bubble, but you fill it purposefully, intentionally, that's good enough. And then we're going to talk about it with the remaining time that we have to get a sense of like what folks are thinking about. And if there's groups, departments, organizations, institutions, houses of worship, any formation in Durham that you've found really helpful in the outreach your roundtable has done, go ahead and name them on one of these green bubbles.
Mind you, where was this document when I was in the classroom? Come on now.
So encouraging folks to just keep filling out ideas as they bubble up, but going ahead and naming some of what we're seeing under goals. We're hearing some of what puts fire in our bellies as a community safety and wellness task force appointed by city, county, and the Board of Education is to improve community well-being by providing better responses to emergencies and by creating the support and resources to prevent emergencies, to make equity, healing, justice, safety, and wellness a reality for the most vulnerable among us, to bring community voices into safety and wellness solutions, long-term systemic solutions to violence in our community. Again, no easy fixes, as someone was saying earlier this conversation, to make recommendations to city, county government about how we want to impact the most lives with the funds available, to implement alternatives to policing and criminalization that keep people safe and well. And some of the kinds of groups we need to partner with to achieve our goals. Obviously, we just took milliseconds here. So, and we know that Durham is a diverse place with an incredible abundance of ways to connect with residents. Some of the ones we uplifted were people who've been incarcerated in the past, people who are incarcerated now, families who've been divided by Child Protective Services, CLS Roundtable. Sorry, I'm terrible with acronyms. What does CLS stand for? Criminal Legal System. Is that right? Okay. Already is working with the Criminal Justice Resource Center and the Community Safety Department, want and need to connect with Superior Court and District Court. Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
Someone mind? Yeah, okay, thank you. Schools, teachers, students, neighborhood improvement services, and the folks they connect with and touch, those who need the support, those who have the resources, and those who have influence. DPS Foundation, Whole Schools Initiative. So keep filling this space. We're seeing a few bubbles here. I'd really love if organizations, institutions, particularly those that you have a direct tether to where you can make the relationship, go ahead and move those into here. Moving on to action, how do we intend to engage community members around the task force recommendations? Through social media, city, county, DPS, existing ways that they communicate with the public, more listening sessions with a representative sample of the city, as well as social marketing campaign through existing institutions like schools and existing community organizations where people are already organizing themselves, events with good food, interpretation, and childcare, information in multiple languages, events in community centers where people can gather around the proposal, documents that are easy to read and understand, info tables in the courthouse, jail, bus station, parks and rec events, press coverage of the task force and how it's been received so far by the three governing bodies, connect with People's Alliance, Durham for All, Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, DPB. That might be Durham Beyond Policing.
It is, sorry.
Okay.
Fast typing typo.
To promote specific sets of proposals to be presented. Town halls, cookouts, engage media, and op-eds. And then the timeline, some important benchmarks here. Just realizing we're right at time, so we'll come back to this timeline question. Just looking at the big picture of what we just shared, any noticing? Any, why aren't we thinking about?
Well, when restorative justice, transformational justice, how do we create new systems that are not retributive or based in punishment?
Lifting up this comment from the chat box, giving a voice to the community through social media advertising that could relate to their circumstances is not only the new way of communicating, but the best way to meet individuals without feeling the stigma society has set for them. Was that for this conversation or the one before? It feels relevant to
This
me.
one.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nancy.
Margie, what's the chance of you kind of analyzing what we have here and kind of giving us a summary and a way forward in our next meeting?
I'd love to do that. And what I know about the phenomenal organizers and movers and shakers here is that all of you have lists of organizations who you reach out to, institutions, people who you connect with when you're trying to move an idea through Durham, and when you're trying to get feedback. So if you could send those to me, I will synthesize all of that before our next meeting and bring it back in the form of a, here's our collectively authored game plan for outreach.
Thank you so much. Marcia?
Thank you all. Do we have time to go around and just give a word of what we're taking with us real
We do.
quick? All right, let's do it. I'll begin. I am taking inspiration. Pass to Nccu.
Hope. Passing it to Dwayne.
Graciousness, passing it on to Isaac.
Inspiration as well. Sorry to take yours, Marcia. I'll pass it to Dr. Boone.
Ooh, fireworks and enthusiasm. That's what I got. Oh, I'm supposed to pass it. Sorry. Did Giovanna go?
I am taking innovation, and I'll pass it to Mike.
I'll say collaboration, ways that our roundtables can work together on joint projects. Alejandra?
Community. I'll pass to Alec.
I'm taking creativity. Jennifer, did you go?
I'll say confidence in our purpose and the big things we're able to do. And I'll pass to Tyler. You go.
I'll say intentionality again, and I'll pass it to Jesse.
I am taking away it's hard to even name, but I'm taking it. And that's all I have in this moment. I'm taking it. Is there anyone else to pass it to? I think I may Muffin or no?
Muffin?
Yes. What I have in this moment I want to take with me. I'm going to say understanding. Because I want to understand everyone's point of view, and whether they agree with me or not, I want to understand where they're coming from. And I want to hope people feel the same.
I think Dwayne?
Dwayne, when did Mike go?
You did? Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
I think we did it. I think the circle is complete. Thank
Alex is
you
gone.
all. Oh, Alex? Yeah. No. Where? Yes.
I was saying, I said I hadn't gone yet.
Yeah.
Savior. I'm sorry, brother. Oh.
I was going to say I feel connected. Connectivity.
I love it.
Connection.
Great.
All the things.
That's beautiful. Belonging, connection. So good to be with y'all always. This is just, you guys are just the best. So, and we will see